Hello, this is Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Bregman from the Jewish Executive Learning Network and BregmanSuccess.com. It is late Thursday night. I am committed to sharing with you Divrei Torah, words of Torah, on the weekly Torah portion. Don't have time to make a video, but at the minimum, I'm going to create for you right now an audio, which I think will add a lot of value and insight to you. This week's Torah portion is called Torah portion Vayigash. We're right now creeping up at the end, pretty much, of the book of Bereshis, the book of Genesis. We're in chapter 45, verse 5, for the verse and the insight I'd like to share with you for this week. The verse says in chapter 45, verse 5, it is Joseph speaking now to his brothers after he has revealed himself to them who he really is. And they're shocked. And he says to his brothers, and now be not distressed, nor reproach yourselves for having sold me here, for it was to be a provider that God sent me ahead of you. So I bring this verse in, this insight now, in my commentary, short and sweet on the Parsha, my Torah commentary, and I say over here this, and I explain, at this verse, it's very worthy of diligent study. You find over here that Yosef did momentarily shock his brothers with his revelation as to who he really is, but he didn't want for this moment of shock and emotional pain to last for them very long. Immediately afterwards, he tries to console them. He tells his brothers, don't be distressed, don't reproach yourselves. He tries to make them feel better what had happened in the past, how they had sold him into slavery, and he definitely didn't want to rub it in, and he told them the upside. He said, you know what? Don't give yourselves a hard time for having sold me here, that I ended up a slave in Mitzrayim. It was meant to be, Hashem wanted it to be. And in the verse he says it was to be a provider that God sent me ahead of you. That it was meant to be, Hashem wanted me to become a material provider for Egypt and for you and all your families and for Yaakov, our father, in the future, in the time of famine. So don't worry, it was meant to be. I do want you to be shocked when you discover who I really am, but I'm not trying to rub it in. And I think it's very important to understand this as a matter of Jewish hashkafa, the Jewish outlook on how to deal with people who didn't believe in you and are negative towards you. A lot of times, if you look at my posts on Instagram, my writings, my videos, I speak about people who don't believe in you, that are negative, and sometimes in the vernacular they call them the haters, people who don't believe in you. I even had a post on this, like on Instagram this week. I said that the ones who say you can't and you won't are probably the ones that are scared you will. I talk about this a lot, but I'm trying to give you over here what is really the Jewish attitude a little bit more in its fullness. And the Jewish view is you're not there to rub it in. You want people to understand that maybe they made a mistake about you, and then we want them to admit that they were wrong, but not to rub it in. There's a verse in Tehillim, the book of Psalms that King David wrote, chapter 6, verses 9 and 10. In those verses, David HaMelech, King David, you're going to see over there, he thanks Hashem for bringing him salvation and for answering his prayers. And King David says, Hashem has heard the sound of my weeping, Hashem heard my plea. But in the next verse, in verse 11, David says, let all my foes, my enemies, they should be ashamed and utterly confounded. They should be all confused when they see what happened. And then he says, let them regret and be shamed for a rega, for an instant. Okay? So he says he wants his foes to be shamed and confounded, and they should regret, and they should be ashamed. And then he says for an instant. So the Metzudas David explains the flow, the commentary Metzudas David explains the flow of these three verses. Those who oppose David, they're going to be ashamed and confused when they see his success. And they're going to know they had been wrong and persecuting him. And in contemporary terms, the Metzudas David would have said for being haters, in the hater category. But then David says, let them regret and be shamed for an instant. Because David never wanted to rub it in their faces and bring it up again. He wanted them to know that they were wrong in opposing him, wrong for discarding him, wrong for the Lashon Hara that they believed about him. But after, he wanted them to be makir, which means in Hebrew, to recognize that they had been wrong. But he wanted them to regret and be shamed for an instant, but not more than that. I heard also Rabbi, my own personal Torah guide, Hagoin Rav Aaron Walken Shlita, speak about this idea I heard him personally many times that when a person wants to grow as a Jew, as a human being, to become your most and biggest version of yourself, it is a kosher, so to speak, acceptable form of motivation sometimes to desire to show people, your adversaries, that they were wrong in previously dismissing you. That is kosher. A person might say, oh, well, how do you know? How do you know that it's acceptable for a Jew or for a person who believes in Torah, that come on, I want to show people that they were wrong about me. How do I know that it's kosher? So Rav Walkin says, yeah, it is kosher. It is kosher to use that as a motivation. And he brings, for example, a different statement of King David, David HaMelech. It says, for example, in Tehillim, in the book of Psalms, chapter 86, verse 17, it says over there, David says to Hashem, to God, display for me a sign for good, so that my enemies may see it and be ashamed, for you, Hashem, will have helped me and consoled me. What do you see from here? So you see from here that defiance is generally not a Jewish trait, but in some circumstances it can have an acceptable application. He says to Hashem, Oi, Hashem, people are down on me, display for me a sign for good, so my enemies should see it and be ashamed, and they should know you have helped me and you have consoled me. So what's the bottom line? The takeaway is that in life there's plenty of people that don't believe in us, that dismiss us, that throw us to the trash can of the world. And they're in the category of people that they don't believe in you, and they're like what they call the haters. They don't believe in you, they don't love you, they don't hold of you. So the Torah perspective is that you are allowed to be motivated to want to show them that they were wrong, and that's what we see from Yosef. We saw that from David HaMelech, from Joseph, from King David in multiple instances. But the Torah view is that, yeah, you want them to see that they were wrong, but it should last for a moment. It's that they should know that they were wrong, they should admit the truth, they should be confounded, but then afterwards, everything happened for a reason, and you want to move on. But you want to set the record straight that they didn't believe in you, and now they're witnessing the success that God is blessing you with right now. Anyway, I hope that idea is of great application to you. I'm probably not going to have time to go back and write out the psukim, the verses, and to add it to the video and the audio file when I'll upload it and make it public, but it will be kedai, which means it will be worthwhile to go back and look up these verses inside in the primary text, and maybe to listen to this audio again, in order to have it in Yiddish we'd say with a klarkeit, with a clarity to understand what I'm referring to. And also, you should totally get a copy of Short and Sweet on the Parsha, my commentary on the Parsha, if you don't already have it, because you could look it up in there and see the verses, because I wrote them out for you. It's in Parshas Vayigash, this insight that I had shared over. Anyway, I hope you have a great Shabbos. It's Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Bregman from the Jewish Executive Learning Network and BregmanSuccess.com. Please share these words of Torah with other people if they're of benefit to you, and I'm sure they will be, because that is the ultimate way you can say thanks for my efforts late at night in creating this for you at a very long work day. I've already, this is at the tail end of a 17-hour day, Baruch Hashem, and have a good Shabbos, and we will see you the next time, and be well. Bye-bye.